Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 228 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And unusual tonight, we may get a third co-host, which is Obi, because Julie's out of town on a work trip, so Obi is, I have to keep the door open for the in Civil Gore Studios East Coast here. So you may hear him barking because, of course, everyone that walks by, Obi needs to let them know that he is there and he's watching them. You know, he kind of does that the equivalent of a dog doing that, two fingers to the eye kind of thing.
Yeah,
yeah. So you may hear him in the background, but of course, he might be actually. He did watch X when I rewatched it, which is our movie tonight. So maybe he'll have some insight. You never know.
Well, I'd be happy to hear his thoughts on this movie because I've got some thoughts on it for sure.
he did say it was a little rough, but and the villain's bark was worse than its bite, kind of stuff like that. But
yeah.
We'll get into that. We should announce technically, and of course, Tim, don't worry, I'm not worried about the time frame. I don't care if it's 3 years from now. But in case you guys have not followed the social media, the Civil Gore series was decided as the Rangers won in 7 games over Tim's Carolina Hurricanes.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
So, and now the Rangers are, it's so far removed from what we finally mentioned due to, our delays in episodes that Rangers are already in the midst of the next series, and they're tied 2 games apiece. By the time you hear this, that series should be actually, I think it could be technically over. So, we should get on, because we don't know how long Tim's voice is going to hold out tonight, and God help you all if I have to carry more of the episode as it is, so...
Yeah, I still have still recovering from COVID from last week. That's why we only had the dismemberment as we announced on social media. So yeah, the whole family got it. It was, and I should say because everybody was looking forward to the Carolina Fear Fest trip.
Oh yeah,
and that got canceled due to COVID. Not the convention. Our trip got canceled because Anna came down with it right before we were supposed to leave. So we couldn't go. So unfortunately, I did not get to go to Carolina Fear Fest, which we were out the money for the tickets, but at the same time, the 2 big guests we wanted to see weren't there. Elvira canceled, and the screen-used Annabelle doll and the guy that does the special effects for those movies canceled. So really the 2 big draws that we wanted to go see anyway were not going to be there. So maybe it was all for the best. We'll hit them next time.
Yeah, and of course, even our announcer was struck with the COVID bug there. So Civil Gore is now complete with all 3 of us
yeah
with it at some point. So we're hopefully that's it. We won't none of us will get it again. But it is what it is right now. It's all over the place. Everyone, I think there will be it's all said and done by the end of this year. I think there will be finally less people that don't have it. Didn't have it than did, because I think it was pretty close as it was with something like 54% versus 46%. I think by now I've known so many people in the past month alone that hadn't got it and now got it. So it's
that
just
new variant. I think it's just super contagious.
Yeah, and it's just all over the place. But in good news though, I guess they announced today actually Moderna's new booster that they customized a little bit supposedly has a much better chance at blocking Omicron, which the other ones did not. So that should help curb this thing back to the lower levels it was. But and I know New York got knocked down from high alert to medium alert actually last week, which is good. So
that's good. All right, well, let's get right into it then. This is our first chop. All right, I actually watched a bunch of stuff, Brian. I don't have it on the rundown, but a lot of it's not horror. I've been going through the Rambo series because this is crazy, guys. As big as an 80s fan as I am and grew up in the 80s, I'd never seen Rambo.
Oh, my God.
Never seen a Rambo movie.
Not even First Blood?
No, I'd never seen First Blood. I think when I started rewatching him, I think I had seen like parts of Rambo 2, maybe at some point when I was younger, because I remembered the opening scene where he's like pounding rocks in the prison yard or whatever. So I've been steadily going through the Rambo series. That was pretty entertaining. I really liked First Blood. That was a great film. 2 and 3 so far, but they're kind of more the iconic Rambo, really. 2 and 3.
Well, yeah, it's like it's so funny because First Blood could have like just stood on its own at some level, and then like but then they started going with Rambo and totally changed the franchise towards.
But it's interesting.
I would love to do a thing though, like a stat, like which like a grunt total between the Rocky movies and the Rambo movies. How much he,
I'm thinking of actually doing a Rocky run through too after this, just to keep the Stallone.
Yeah, I've done many of those. Yeah, I've done many times. I've watched the whole Rocky series. A lot of times, sometimes cable does it, for you. Yeah. They just kind of have it on. But yeah, no, I love the Rocky movies. I haven't seen the Rambos in a while. I don't even think I saw the latest one. I for sure. I'm pretty sure. I know I saw the first 4, but I don't think I saw that latest.
Yeah, there's 5 total, now. Right?
Yeah, I haven't seen the 5th one, so.
Yeah, but getting back to the horror track, I watched, thanks to Kim and Kat, I watched Willys Wonderland because they covered that recently, and I really like that one. Of course, I'm a Nicolas Cage fan. Willys Wonderland, you guys know it's about basically it's him fighting spooky animatronics and like a Five Nights at Freddy's type environment. And what's cool about the movie? It's a weird movie. I wouldn't say it's a great movie, but I just love Nicolas Cage's character in this because he's just basically he doesn't talk through the whole movie.
Yeah, not one line.
Not one line. He's got this weird predilection for drinking these this kind of soda drink, and he takes breaks. Like he has a timer on his watch, and he always takes breaks down to the second. I mean, he stops whatever he's doing to take a break and drink one of these things. And he fights animatronics, and he's not scared of anything. And it's just a weird character. It's never explained. Yeah. There's nothing about his character that is ever explained in the movie. They just say, hey, here's the setup. Here's this weird Nicolas Cage character, and then we're just going to let him go crazy.
Yeah, and that's like a great tactic. I mean, yeah, you have all types of Nicolas Cage movies, and then there's the subgenre of a true Nicolas Cage movie. And even that now has been like almost like its own, it's like a subgenre where there's a typical, one of the Nicolas Cage movies with a little variant of this kind of Nicolas Cage where they just don't even give him a backstory much at all. They have given him no explanation to why he's where he is, what's his reason for being there, why he's angry, what the hell's with the soda. Just they basically just said, okay, Nick, here you go. Every 10 minutes, take a drink. And every 15 minutes start swinging at something in front of you.
Yeah, they just wind him up and let him go. I was highly entertained. I really enjoyed it. So.
And what's even amazing about that movie, I think, is that they literally, it's not like the characters don't interact with him. He just doesn't answer, and it's just accepted. It's so weird. It's so awkward, but like so great at the same time.
Yeah, it's such a bizarre movie, but I loved it. I loved it.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's good. We should do that ourselves one time, actually. Another Kim and Kat did it. We need to do that. So I didn't watch much other than our feature in hand and the upcoming Tubi Trap, which I'll mention, which Tim definitely got his revenge with me on. But I did watch, thanks to the first time he got me to watch it, I decided to finish the Return to Bloodfart Lake, and it's basically the same thing, like, as crazy as the first one was. It's just, they just doubled down on the crazy, and they enhanced, what's his, I don't remember the characters anymore, but whatever that may, like, something, Leo Champone or whatever his name is, I don't know, they fixed his mustache. They gave him a better quality mustache, and it's like the characters return because they found out that the killer returned, but like almost a whole bunch of people from the first movie are in it again as different characters, but yeah, like that zany one with I think she's like the 20s movie actress, she's back and she plays 2 different roles. Spoiler alert, Caspian makes his return at some point, even though he was, you remember at the end of the last film, was inserted into his sister's anus. So yeah, but he makes a return somehow. Definitely, I think the first one was a little funnier, but this one was definitely. I tell you, if as stupid as these movies are, there's something about them that's kind of fun. I think they'd make a fun watch party. Which we might have to put on the calendar at some point, Tim. But yeah, so I watched that because I couldn't now not see the conclusion of the Bloodfart Lake.
Yeah, you don't want to be left
series.
hanging.
I don't. Yeah, in case they do a third one, I got to be prepared. But for my Tubi Trap, what Tim got me stuck with was called Killer Christmas Elves. Yeah, Tim and I love our Christmas horror movies.
I specifically chose this one in the summer because just to make it as bad as possible.
Yeah,
You're not even in the mood for it.
Let me tell you, this could be literally Christmas Eve, and I'm having the most festive holiday ever, and this thing would have just flat out pissed me off. It would have got me. So it would have yanked the spirit out of Santa Claus if something was so bad. It was. I should have known right off the bat because literally the production company was called Subpar Films. And if I've never seen a better production company for a film in my life as this one. So basically, you kind of like start off in this like toy factory where this weird like girl, I guess she's a witch, is like painting these little elves and she's possessing them. Then I guess there's like this I don't know, somehow she manages to possess the boss to fire the girl that she doesn't like there, who then goes out and gets killed by the elves with her other coworker. But then it cuts to like this father and son situation, I guess, where the son is coming to the father's for Christmas, and somewhere there's a drop line of dialogue, I guess, that factory burnt down because this, Tim should know, there's this crazy guy from the HOA of the father's development here that that has all these rules about like how you have to decorate your house for Christmas. So apparently he says at one point he bought like all the elves from when the factory burnt down. He stocked up on these elves. Hint, hint. Why now they're going to be running amok here, and why it's
now,
Killer
are these
Christmas
like
elves.
large?
They look
elves
exactly like Elf on a Shelf, essentially.
Okay,
just like a ripoff. And I'm surprised if that place not get sued, if they got sued for this. But yeah, so that it's the typical thing. This father and the son's being like really mean to the dad for I guess running out on him as a kid, and I don't know. But this guy, the neighbor guy named Bart is kind of like a his name is Bart Puppins, you find out, and his dog's name is Mary Puppins. And that's the only part that actually gave me a chuckle, because you find out first that the dog is Mary Puppins. So then the son like goes like, "Really? You named your dog Mary Puppins?" And later he finds out that it's Bart Puppins. So it's like just like, and he's like, "Wait a minute." He goes, "Your name is actually Puppins?" That's about the only thing that has any kind of like slight comical or entertainment value. By 10 minutes in, somehow I've already had lost interest for over 15 minutes. I don't even know
oh my God.
that's even possible. I think I lost interest going in. Yeah, I mean, and basically the plot point of that is that guy Bart was giving Christmas baskets to everyone in the town, and nobody likes him, and he's like, but since he's the head of the HOA or whatever, I guess he gets away with it. But every basket, of course, contains one of these killer possessed Christmas elves. So as you can like figure out, it's just one terrible effect after another, and the elves are running amok all over this development, which is like, as crowded as it seems to be in terms of characters, it seems so empty at the same time, and it's the whole thing seems so awkward throughout the whole movie, and it's just. I did like at one point I said my Christmas wish is just this movie would end, and this movie is now, let me tell you, it's 1 hour and 7 minutes. Okay.
Oh my
So
gosh.
that is 67 minutes, and I found myself checking the time at least 30 times, and I went to the point of where I like kept pausing it to make sure I was right, to see how much time was left on the thing. At some point, I guess there's a weapons crazy uncle that has guns that he arms the father and son with, and one point, I don't know if I missed it, dozed off, didn't care, but either way, at one point there was, all the elves, I guess, formed one giant elf that was like human sized, and they shot him, and
like Voltron, that's cool.
Kinda, yeah, but I don't even think they had the same effects as Voltron. Like, it wasn't even that level of it just like kind of appeared. But then and then it like ends with a very very weird country Christmas song, and the father and son are just like scarfing down bacon and eggs, and it just ends. And there's an hour and 7 minutes I will never get back in my life.
And this one didn't even have a cool cover.
Yeah, no, this was like so cheap done everywhere. Yeah, like the cover was like one of those ones you'd see where it's just like a clip. It looks like maybe a clip from the movie that they just put a title over. It's just, yeah, this thing was, oh my God. I basically, at one point I said I would watch every single Amityville movie over again, with the exception of Mount Misery Road, because that is still the bottom of the barrel, over this movie.
Wow.
So, that's how bad this one was.
Well, it sounds like I got my revenge for Zillafoot then.
You did, but that's the point. That's the spirit of Tubi Trap.
That's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But now I get to pick one for you though.
Yeah. Now.
Oh no, I gave it to you already. I remember I gave it to you. You had it already. Remember I sent it last week. So
Oh, that's right. I almost forgot. Yeah.
Yeah. So you already had it there. So you have it ready to go, and then you can pick one for me too if you want, and I'll just do mine like 2 weeks from now. But so you had another one of mine. But yeah, so you have yours already in there. So.
Nice.
And we'll give everyone a hint. It's sticking with a holiday theme somewhat.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I think mine might be a little. It doesn't look that bad.
No, yours looks at least. Looks has like a cast in it of people that you've heard
famous
of.
Last words. Famous last words. Next up, we got another promo to read. This one got some traction there on Twitter.
Thanks
Jeff Whitmire.
Yeah.
Jeff Whitmire watched this one and really enjoyed it. I guess I'll go ahead and read this, Brian.
Yes.
Unhuman, the zombie thriller Unhuman, is now available on digital and on demand. When a high school field trip goes bloody awry, the students' trust in each other is tested to the limit in a brutal, horrifying fight for survival. Buy or rent Unhuman and watch it today, unrated from Paramount Pictures. Very high on my list to watch this one.
This got rave reviews by Jeff Whitmire, and it got a lot of, thanks to him, it like was our post was trending all over the place, so everyone seemed to like it. So yeah, this is definitely on my next watch. This and Dash Cam I need to watch, or the two next two movies I think I'm gonna fit in.
Oh, and the not strictly horror from what I can tell, but The Northman, which is the latest Robert Eggers.
That's right. That's on.
That just came out on Peacock, so that's available to stream. If you don't want to rent it and you have Peacock, you can watch it on there.
Yeah, that's right. That's another one I have. I have that to watch. Oh my God, I got too much going on.
Okay, well, let's get into our feature film. Now, this episode, like we said, will probably be a little on the shorter side because my voice is shot, and we're recording a little late tonight. But I did want to discuss our thoughts on this movie because this one's been out for a little while. It was very, very highly anticipated for me because I'm such a big Ty West fan. And from the trailers and stuff, it really looked like it had a very strong Texas Chainsaw Massacre influence. But we'll go through the housekeeping here. Of course, X was released this year, directed by Ty West, starring Mia Goth as Maxine/Pearl. There will be some spoilers here, by the way, guys. Jenna Ortega as Lorraine, Brittany Snow as Bobby Lynn, Kid Cudi, a.k.a. Scott Mescudi, as Jackson, Martin Henderson as Wayne, Owen Campbell as RJ, and Stephen Uri as Howard. In 1979, a group of young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas, but when their reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. And Olivia actually watched this one with me. We had a date night one night, and this was our movie we decided to pick and rent. And,
naughty Tim.
Yeah. Well, I can't say that she was super excited to see it because she loves horror movies. Don't get me wrong, but this one looked a little too Texas Chainsaw Massacre for her from the trailer. She had seen the trailer, so she was afraid it was going to be really, really gory and stuff. And she ended up liking it. I don't think she loved it. Kind of the same way for me. I'll have to admit that, and we'll go into it when we start kind of diving into it. I was expecting I was going to absolutely love this one. I went in really, really high hopes. I came out going, you know what? I was entertained. I liked it. I did not love it. And I'll explain why as we get into it. What about you, Brian?
So I watched it twice, first time watching it, and then second time I rewatched it for the thing. I will say there was a little disappointment for me as well, but the second time I watched it, I definitely liked it a lot more. And while it definitely does have its flaws, there's a lot of positives in there, and I think it's one of those ones where I think overall where it's like this, what's that term? The sum of its parts don't equal. Like this one, it's like all the parts together just like were great. It just there was this little something off that didn't make it as good as it could have been, and I'm not sure what it is yet. I know there's a lot going on in this. There's a lot of homages. There's a lot of kind of like parallel things. There's a lot of definitely kind of like wink wink nod things where like for example, real quick, how the cameraman that they hire, he's trying to say like, oh, I'm trying to do make this artsy and make it a different kind of genre and all this stuff. And if you think about it, if you look at the way Ty West directed this, he kind of did the same thing. He kind of took like there were a lot of shots that he kind of like were kind of weird cuts and weird parallel back and forth, to make it like kind of like artsy as well. So if you look at it deep down, it's essentially just it's basically a slasher at heart, but with a lot of other kind of like cool artsy elements around it. So there was almost like the very meta kind of thing to it. And I think the thing is, at the same time, while we're gonna probably critique it and say things, I still think part of me is almost like just go into this movie for what it is and have fun with it, because it is overall very enjoyable, and it was both times to me, even better the second time. And I think the biggest part of that is I think that every person in this movie did a near perfect job in their role. And, that doesn't always happen, in a movie. There's always someone that kind of like slogs down possibly. And I thought everyone kind of did like an amazing job. Like Brittany Snow, I've always been a fan of, I loved the Pitch Perfect series. She was good in The Prom Night. We made, and some whatever other movies she had done. I've seen her in. She's always good. But for some reason, this one, this is a very bold movie for her. She's always kind of like that, kind of that good girl, kind of person. I mean, I know she played some rougher roles a little bit, but still, you don't expect her to kind of do this scenes like she did in this movie. And I'll say she did it. I think she did such a good job in it, because she was so perfect as that, kind of like that, almost like, porn star that kind of maybe thinks she's, like she's, like she's the cream of the crop kind of thing, and it was interesting to see her in the kind of role. And I thought she did a great job. I mean, Jenna Ortega is one of the most fastest rising scream queens right now. I mean, look at what she's been doing. I mean, I think what was she first in that Babysitter sequel, right? I mean, that was her first, and then she went on, of course, to Scream 5, and now this, and she's coming back for Scream 6. She's like, just, I really don't think there's like the sky is the limit for her, literally, to not use, I mean, I hate using that, like, that's such a cliched phrase, but literally she's like jettisoning up as high as she can go, and she's so popular and so good in everything she did. She was actually really good in that movie. Forgot it was about, I mean, sadly, it became timely yet again too many times, but that movie about where it was her and her friend, she meets this girl that they both were in a bathroom during a school shooting, and they both having the traumatic thing. It was on HBO. And she was really good in that. She is just so super talented that pretty much she's one of those people now I'll watch anything she's in.
Yeah, I really like her. I mean, the cast all in all was just
The Fallout. That's what it's called. That's the one on. It's called The Fallout on. I think it was on HBO Max. It's on HBO Max. It's really good to see. I mean, right now might be rough because of what's going on in the real world with school shootings. And this was I think 4 months ago this came out, when it was about it was when we were still recovering from the previous ones, and now we had the latest. But but she's just phenomenal. Martin Henderson, of course, good to see him back in a good horror role there. Of course, he was great in The Ring. I thought he was like so so perfect in this. I mean, one just the way he's walking around in his underwear in the barn, with that that walk he's doing. It's just so it's hilarious. So yeah, that was the thing. It's like, and Mia, literally we can go gush on everybody's performances, but and Kid Cudi, or what's his real name? He goes by Scott Mescudi. Yeah. The only other thing I saw Kid Cudi in was in that movie Jexy. Did you ever see that? where it's about the
No.
guy and he has it's the one that from Pitch Perfect also. Oh my god, I always forget his name. The one that played Bumper in Pitch Perfect. But he's so he plays this guy who's like down on his luck, and he gets a new phone, and the AI on the phone like basically just tries to make his life better, but ends up falling for him. So then when he meets a girl, she gets the phone gets jealous and starts trying to ruin his life. Adam Devine, that's his name. Which is that's pretty hilarious too. But but there was a big thing where they went to go see Kid Cudi in concert. So that was the only thing I knew of him, but he was great in it too. I mean, it's definitely like I definitely got, it was almost like, it's like Boogie Nights meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre kind of thing. Meets what was that other one though? The Visit, right, with the creepy old people by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
it's like you put those three together and you got this movie. But yeah, no. I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'd love to hear your opinion because I know you definitely were going to be a little more critical of it. So I'll sit back. I'm going to hear your take now.
And I've only seen it once. I didn't have a chance to rewatch it, and I really do want to rewatch it because I think I want to give it another fair shot. But the first thing, this is totally a me thing. It's not a fault of the movie at all, and it's my hang up about old age makeup, man. And you guys have heard me talk about it before on the show, where for some reason I don't like old age makeup. It's not convincing to me. I don't think it's ever been done well. I think the closest, and I've said this before, the closest it's ever been done well was The Exorcist with Max von Sydow's makeup. I think that's the probably the best it's ever been done. I don't think it's been done well at all since then. And I don't mean to take that away from the effects artist, because I heard that Mia Goth was like in the makeup chair for 10 hours to put that makeup on in this movie. And I'm sure the makeup artist of this is just incredible. And it's not something I could never do.
Let me ask you a quick question, just to start, because I don't want to forget. Do you think that there was any kind of like intentional thing for this kind of makeup to look so awkward and over the top?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a valid point, because you want these people to look monstrous, right? You're not really going for realism. You're not trying to make them look like a sweet old grandma. You're trying to
you do not want to. You want to feel like a very bit of pity, but you also want to be creeped out from them. Right. And I don't know if you would if it's too good of an old age makeup, So I'm wondering. I could be wrong. I could be putting stuff in. I was just more of a curiosity thing. I was wondering.
It's a good point, but for some reason, when I see the old age makeup, and especially if I know that there's a younger actor underneath the makeup, it takes me out of the movie. And that's what happened in this film almost instantly when I saw the quote-unquote old lady, and I was like, oh, God, okay, I know who this is. I know that it's makeup. I know these are prosthetics. And it just took me out of the movie for the rest of the movie. And I couldn't focus on the movie the rest of the time because of this. In such a way that it was distracting to me. And, when you're distracted and you're watching a movie, that's it. You're done. So there was that piece of it that really bothered me, and that's completely on me. I understand most people don't have that same hang up. That's just a quirk of mine. It's something I just can't help, and I don't fault anybody who absolutely love this movie, because there's a lot to love about it. Like Brian was saying, the directing, the camera cut, the feel of the movie, I absolutely love, because I love those 70s movies.
Yeah.
I love Texas Chainsaw, and there's a lot of homages to Texas Chainsaw in this. So I love that part of it. I love the cast. I love the story. I loved everything about it, other than I was taken out of the movie almost instantly. The other part that bothered me, and I was thinking about this today because I don't know why it bothered me. For this movie in particular, there's a subgenre of horror movies known as hagsploitation or psycho-biddy horror. And that's any kind of horror that relies on an older woman to drive the horror, right? And which this movie obviously does. And normally that doesn't bother me, because I look at movies like Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. I look at movies like we just mentioned, The Visitor. Was that The Visitor?
Yeah.
The Shyamalan, M. Night Shyamalan. Recent movies like The Taking of Deborah Logan, which I loved.
Oh yeah, that's funny, because that one kind of had like that was like almost decent makeup.
Yeah, that one. So those, I like those movies. I don't have anything against it. In this movie, for some reason, I don't know why it bothered me that they were exploiting the elderly for the horror. I guess going into it, I was expecting something more along the lines of Texas Chainsaw, where you have this cannibal family. I mean, they're not exploiting age. They're exploiting the fact that these people are just crazy. They're cannibals. In this one, I felt like there was so much emphasis, because there's a lot of emphasis on the reason for the old lady to do what she's doing is because she's missing her youth, and she's pining for her youth, and she doesn't like getting older. And it's very, I don't want to say heavy-handed, because it's not like they're preaching it, but it's very obvious in the movie that this is about youth versus old age. And that's a very valid fear. I mean, the fear of mortality is probably the basest human fear we have. So I can't fault the movie for exploiting that for horror either. But something about it, for some reason, this bothered me. In this particular movie, I did not like the exploitation of the elderly in this movie. I don't know why. I think, and one scene bothered me, which was when the elderly couple are having sex, and it was played for disgust. And it just, I don't know, something about it just made me go, I don't like that they're trying to make the viewer be disgusted at old people. And maybe it's just recent things in my life, because, Olivia's dad had dementia before he passed away last year. We have a neighbor who's dealing with an elderly mother who has dementia. And I guess maybe that stuff was in the back of my mind when I was watching this. And I was like, I find that sad. I don't find that something we should be afraid of. And I don't find it something that we should be disgusted by. And when I saw it in this movie, it just, I don't know, those thoughts came to my mind. I feel like they were exploiting some kind of disgust or fear of the elderly that I just didn't care for. It just, I don't want to say I was offended by it, but, and again, it might be just a personal thing of things that have been in my mind recently, but for some reason that exploitation of the elderly bothered me in this movie.
Well, and you notice, though, a lot of horror, I think some of the most frightening horror, if you think about it, too, or when it is just an average, normal person. Maybe with, obviously they have so much of a mental imbalance to make them, an horrific person. But, if you think about it, how many, Freddy Krueger's a child, a child murderer and a burn victim, Jason is they make him kind of like a deformed child, Victor Crowley is a little hatchet, but then when you get someone and you get a Michael Myers, who is just a normal kid who's psychotic, and you don't know why, and you still don't know why in the new timeline per se. You just know what's going on. To me, shouldn't that be a little scarier when you don't have almost like a stereotype coming after you? Because then it's this could sneak up on you, it's or when you see when you hear these stories a neighbor goes crazy or something and does something, and then you see all the other neighbors are like, oh my God, he was so quiet, I used to talk to him all the time, I just borrowed my power tool. He used to come over and for a glass of wine or everything. But then they snap and go crazy. Isn't that a lot more frightening, because there's no visible or physical thing that could drive a motive? So I see what you mean, and it's unfortunately it's always it's something that's always used. But I think, yes, with the elderly, it's literally just that they got old, and they've gotten this way. And I'm just turned 50, but there's things now that I'll forget, nothing major, but I'm not as quick as I used to be, I still I'll remember a billion stupid little facts, but sometimes I'll forget something, more of a short term kind of a thing. I'll forget, but or just anything, when you get older, your body gets more tired. So it's it happens to everyone. So I think, especially you and I are getting up there ourselves, let alone our families. So it's it definitely, like, I'm sure can you imagine, like, as a 16-year-old sneaking in to see this movie and seeing two old people have this, like, vigorous sex scene? You'd probably be hysterical laughing and talking about it all over high school the next day, you know, because there's no connection to it, as you get older, though, and you see that, because most kids at 16, their parents are still relatively young as well, so it's like they don't, they might have a grandparent per se that's like that, that could be in that phase, but like it's still not it's not the direct connection as like as their own parent. So, and they're definitely nowhere near that age of where that's even like a remote possibility for them right now. So it's like, I think he's like, it was definitely played for, like, I think couple of, gross out laughs or whatever, for the younger crowd kind of a thing. I think maybe it tried to put in a little thing for everybody, and so there's always maybe when you try and do that, sometimes there's always gonna be parts that you don't like, and
I really wonder if watching it a second time with not having the lack of expectation of what's going to happen in terms of the old age makeup and the focus on ageism or whatever, knowing that going in versus going into it cold and not knowing who the villain was, I'm wondering if I'm going to enjoy it more the second time.
Yeah, I did. It's not like I hated it the first time. I really liked it the first time, but I think the second time, now with the the kind of the build up already done with, because this movie was incredibly hyped leading up to it.
Yeah, and I think that could definitely be part of it.
And then so much praise by everybody that went and saw it. So, when you do that, it's very hard to live up to the expectation because, just because, like, say 50 people you talk to absolutely loved it, there's going to be people that just liked it, but yet you don't hear from them when because that's just the way. I mean, frankly, if you look on the internet, that's how algorithms work. You're not going to get those if they don't want you to get those.
And I read a lot of reviews kind of looking for that same critique of the kind of hagsploitation angle. About I saw several reviews that mentioned it, but not in a negative way, like not in a way that the way I took it, perceived it as like, I don't like this kind of, I find this a little, again, I don't want to say offended, but I don't care for them exploiting the elderly like this. I never saw that in the reviews, which makes me think maybe I'm just I was a little overly sensitive to it for some reason, versus the kind of the mainstream critics, because the critics love this movie, and I didn't really see that brought up as a critique in many of the reviews. So I definitely want to give it another shot and give it another chance, because I love Ty West. I love this cast. I love the aesthetic. So there's a lot I know to like about this movie. There's a lot I did like about it. I don't want to give the wrong impression that I didn't enjoy it, because I was really entertained by it. We had a great time watching it. So it wasn't like I hated the movie or anything. I didn't love it the way I thought I would love it.
Yeah. No, it was, and it was, what was kind of fun about it is that, like, if you look at it like, obviously we look at it with being with a sharper eye, of course, being doing a podcast. But if you look at it just at its simplest thing, like a movie, like a gritty 70s style slasher, kind of gritty movie like that, it hits it perfectly, And so the cast was fine. It was the right, the way they acted was right. The aesthetic was right. The camera color, even the coloring of the prints are right. Just everything was perfect on that. So if you look at it at the simplest level, the problem is no one does anymore. And I've said this before. When you have to think about how you're going to discuss it, you have to you also can't forget to enjoy it at the same time. So I think that's why for movies like this, with a lot of hype, I'll watch it, and then I'll watch it a second time for the podcast, just so I can really make sure I'm like. Yeah, and then now I'm really gonna dig it in. I always try the first time to kind of like
turn off the podcast mind.
Yeah, and even though I knew we were gonna do it for the podcast before I saw it, because I know we had talked about it, we're like, oh yeah, we'll probably definitely do that one at some point. I still, when I first watched it, I went into it just trying to do that. It was hard enough to clear out the hype for it, to just sit and enjoy it. But then, so I had to try and push definitely push the podcast mindset out of it too. But I mean, overall, again, this is a movie I would, we'll summarize because you don't want to go too much into it and spoil it for people that haven't seen it. But I mean, I definitely would make it a high recommend. I mean, if you love like, that gritty 70s style horror movie, then you will definitely not be disappointed on that front. I think if you're, I don't even know what to say. Like, oh, well, if you're looking for this, you're not going to get it, because I don't think it was. I think it made itself look like it was trying to do more than it actually really wanted to do. I think it was trying to just do a simple 70s horror homage.
Oh, and when you said gritty, I do want to clarify, which I thought was really cool about this movie, is that when people try to emulate that kind of grindhouse stuff, I'm thinking of like Rob Zombie with Devil's Rejects, House of a Thousand Corpses, and it looks gritty and it looks rough. This movie actually doesn't. It looks really beautiful. It's very colorful. It's beautifully shot, but it doesn't try to recreate that aesthetic with like film grain and trying to make it look old and 70s. Somehow it like pulls off that 70s aesthetic, but filmed modernly.
Yeah, it looks like there might be, at most they do like a slight tint to the to the lighting, but that's it.
But yeah, it's not like he's trying to create a scratched up 70s looking movie. He really shot.
He didn't do like fake like burn marks or anything.
No, it's not like that, which I thought was great. I thought that was beautiful because it was like seeing. It was almost like seeing. It reminded me of like if Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in like some super deluxe 4K, they had found some way to like remaster it so it looked like it was filmed yesterday kind of way. It was really interesting to me that it was shot so beautifully, but still managed to capture that aesthetic, which I thought was really, really cool.
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, overall, like, yeah, like, I mean, in production value, it's probably at one of the highest you'll see. And like I said, like, I mean, if you look at even like Tim's like, criticisms are very specific at one thing, and like he said, it may not be the same way if he watches it again. So like, again, I mean, I definitely, and I'm sure Tim, you feel this way. You definitely recommend this though to go see this.
Oh yeah, and I'll recommend any Ty West film because I think he's a brilliant filmmaker. So, and I'm looking forward to the prequel. I guess he's got a prequel coming out.
It's already out, and apparently they showed it at one of the screenings of X. I guess they had one of those special screenings that was like, I could have gone too. I think it was local or something, or it was online or something. I don't know. Whatever. Oh yeah, no, that's what it was. It was online, and you could buy it. And they actually, I guess they showed Pearl at the end of it, which is going to be the prequel to that. Yeah, which I guess you get more Mia Goth.
I feel like this is one that could definitely grow on me. I wish I had time to rewatch it for this podcast, but I do plan on rewatching it, and I'll kind of give my thoughts on a later episode. If it changed my opinion anymore. There's been plenty of horror movies in the past that I didn't like on my first watch that I ended up loving. So this could very well be one of them. Who knows?
Unlike Haunt.
Yeah, unlike Haunt. I tried with Haunt. I swear, I tried Haunt.
Yeah,
multiple times.
We did multiple times.
I watched that movie at least 3 times. I think maybe even 4, and I just couldn't get past it. But anyway. So what was our beer pairing this week, Brian?
So I did something a little different this time. Normally, you know how I try and match these things up, but this one I think, based on the type of film this was and the whole thing it was trying to pull across, and the fact that this beer was actually drank in the film. I went good old Joe Bob's favorite, Lone Star, because I mean, of course, this was that's the one of the Texas. They call it like the official Texas beer. Also, they sometimes Shiner Bach is in there, but really Lone Star is the beer that you associate most with Texas, and it's of course out of Austin, Texas. Very simple beer, 4.5%, but I'll give you the little reading of it. It says, with an ABV of 4.5%, this crisp Mexican-style lager is locally brewed in the hill country of Austin, with the finest ingredients Texas has to offer, including award-winning malt from Blacklands Malt, the first malt house to use Texas-grown barley. The beer has a unique to Texas flavor that provides a crisp and refreshing taste, with the characteristic sweetness of a flaked maize balanced with spicy floral and citrus notes from the hops. I actually have a bottle of Lone Star in my fridge from when I bought it for Joe Bob once. It pairs perfectly with the floating the river, your favorite swimming hole, and any backyard or balcony at sunset. That's definitely in terms of craft beers go. It's like doesn't like this is like your Texas like I wouldn't even go low as Bud, but like your Texas like I don't know maybe like Sierra Nevada or something. It's like that kind of like it's like. You know what? I'd never turn down a Lone Star if someone offered it to me. But and if it's good enough for Joe Bob,
That's
and
right.
The fact that they drank it in this movie, and it's like this movie is very Texas centric throughout. I think this was the right choice.
Yeah,
So.
I like that. All right, so our fan topic food question of the week is a great one from Cody. She asked, "What were some of your favorite books you read last year?" And I would hope Cody would allow us to actually go into this year as well. If
I think she would. She's very accommodating.
Yes. I don't know. You want to go first, Brian?
Sure. I think I'm trying to remember what I read last year because once the pandemic started, and I was working from home a lot more. I definitely read more than I've ever read. I'm trying to think some of the stuff that I read last year. I mean, the things that stand out, I think, were the the Halloween, the sequel to that Halloween Taking Shape book, Taking Shape 2.
Yeah, I still need to read that. Yeah.
I mean, that was great. I have a big list of pending books. Like I have all those, the ones that one that, oh my God, what's the Geek Love, the one that
oh yeah, that was great.
Toby sent us. Yeah, and you raved about that. So I have that on my docket, of course. But if bleeding into this year, I'm just about done. I think I have. I really have just like one and a half, maybe two small ones, chapters left. And that was, of course, the Elvira book, which I love like biographies. And let me tell you, this probably is maybe one of my favorite biographies I ever read. It was just so good. Like, I mean, if any, like, there's so many stories she tells in there that you just can't picture Elvira being involved in. A lot of it, of course, is Cassandra Peterson side of it.
Yeah.
And then her Elvira, and just like some of the things that she went through to realize. And when you look at her, you always see that Elvira persona where so happy-go-lucky and funny and but she had a lot of tragedies in her life, a lot of hardships, and a lot of like. I mean, I don't want to go into all the details because I want everyone to read this book. But I will say, if you absolutely, if you're a fan of Elvira and this book will only make you love her 1,000 times more. That's how like amazing it is. It's just I cannot recommend it higher to any horror fans. Especially because who doesn't love Elvira? I mean, if you're a horror fan, right? You gotta.
Yeah. I'm a couple chapters into the audiobook and I'm really enjoying it so far. One of the ones I read last year that I really loved was The Lady from the Black Lagoon, which was by Mallory O'Meara. Right. And that's about the Hollywood Monsters and the Lost Legacy of Millicent Patrick is the subtitle there. And Millicent Patrick was the designer of the creature from the Black Lagoon. She was basically, this was back in a time when women weren't given credit for, filmmaking or any kind of creative output, and so her contribution to the Universal horror was pretty much covered up. And it's a really fascinating look at the lady Mallory O'Meara who wrote this really went in depth. I mean, to researching this and tracking down her relatives, and it's just a really, really great exposure of this wonderful lady, this extreme talent that did not get the credit she deserved while she was alive. And I really, really highly recommend it if you're a Universal Monsters fan or any kind of old Hollywood fan in general. It's just a really, really fascinating read. So that was a great one. Another one I read last year that I really loved. Have you ever heard of the Dyatlov Pass incident, Brian?
I want to say you mentioned it to me about something.
Yeah,
but
this happened back in the 50s, I believe. I want to say the 50s, in Russia, and this group of hikers went missing. And basically, what happened is they found them dead in a weird kind of circumstance where like their tents were like ripped and they had run off into the snow with no shoes on, and it was just a very, very weird incident. And there's been all kinds of supernatural explanations for this. I mean, over the years, of everything from UFOs to some kind of secret Russian missile program, or even Yetis. I mean, I even read a novel where the Yetis were the cause of this thing. But this book is called Dead Mountain: The Untold True Story of the Dyatlov Pass Incident. It's by Donnie Eichar, Eichar, and he did the most. He actually went over there and researched it and like followed their whole trail and everything. And it's the most like grounded study of this incident that I've ever seen. Like, he's not going over there to try to prove it's Bigfoot or something. You know, he really tried to provide a scientific explanation for this. So if you're into like kind of those weird paranormal stories, but you want to hear like a more grounded overview and really in-depth overview, that one was really good. This year, I haven't read. I've been Geek Love, of course, was the big one the Chainsaw Confidential, I think I mentioned, by Gunnar Hansen.
Oh yeah,
that was a great one. If you want more on how Texas Chainsaw Massacre was filmed, he gave a lot of insight, things that I didn't know, and I thought I knew everything about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but he provided a lot of insight, cleared up a lot of myths and legends around it that either did or didn't happen. So that's a great one as well. So yeah, I'm trying to read 52 books this year.
Wow.
I've never been able to pull that off. I am slightly behind. I think I've read 19 so far this year, so I need to catch up. So I don't know if I'll make it or not, but audiobooks definitely help because I can listen to those while I'm doing other things. But yeah, great question, Cody.
Yeah, I remember the ones I forgot. So one was real quick, that Legend of Halloween, which was like the kids version that David Gordon Green did.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I know it's silly as a read, but it's pretty fast. There was the other one was that great Kings Island book that came out. Remember, it was like the history of Kings Island. They had him on the author was a guy at the gift shop, and he was on Coaster Radio. That was a great. It's a park that I've only been to once, but yet I I absolutely loved it. And then here's the one I really forgot was the Not Afraid to Slay, the women of the Haunt. Remember that when we had her on?
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, she forgot it was like that was the That was a great book too. Is Jan Newth, and you know she was how she started her own little backyard haunt that turned into that whole big money haunt, basically. And then of course and also I forgot too. We have that whole stack of Alex Grass books that he was so gracious to send us all. So I have those ready to read along with my Geek Love. So I got but you know what? I go to the beach a lot in the summer, and I usually bring a book there. So that'll actually give me a lot of stuff to read this year. So which is good.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we will be back here next week. Brian, when are we kicking off our summer slate?
You know, I still need to double check. It's definitely going to be in obviously not next week, but possibly the week after. We could start as early. Maybe we actually a little tease. It may actually be 9 weeks this year. Maybe the longest summer slaycation yet, just due to the content we're trying to pull off here. And again, I know we haven't officially announced it to anyone yet, but we'll at least I say we at least announce it next week.
We'll at least announce it.
We'll at least announce what it's going to be, so in case you want to, I guess, slay along with us. Did you see what I did there, Jim?
Yes.
But so we'll announce it next week. But I think either way, it's going to be a fun one. It's one that's it's just could have easily been our first summer slaycation, as much as we did the core 4 slashers. And but this could have also we could have started it with this. And
I think this was long overdue. It
was. And don't worry, this is probably once we do this, we still have a ton of slaycations left. That we have in our file there. But but I think this one will be a fun one for everybody. So.
All right, guys. Well, don't shoot any porno movies at old people's houses, and we'll see you back here next week.
See ya.